Hello, and welcome to Brookshire Brothers Training on Service Channel. For those of you who do not know, Service Channel is a management platform that we as a company have chosen to begin using to place and track our store maintenance service requests, or better known as work orders in our world. The software is going to provide our stores with a web-based system that allows each store to have more one-on-one involvement in the entire work order process and also with the vendors. Let's take a quick look at your login process. You're going to begin by logging into your system with your store login. Each store should have their own unique login for that location. Now at this point, I'm going to turn over the training to Sherry Johnson, and she's going to carry you through the rest of the system, beginning with the dashboard.
The dashboard is a really easy program to use. However, there's a lot of detailed information I'm going to cover today. On the left-hand side, there is links available. You'll have a summary link, which is the screen that is showing right now. There's another link to request service. That link is used when you need to enter a work order. There's a link to view all of your open and in-progress work orders for your location. Another link to view work history, which allows you to see all work orders no matter what status they're in. And then you'll have a leave feedback link, which allows you to give feedback on completed work orders. We're going to go through each of these links today in detail. Starting with the summary. The summary is a calendar that allows you to see an overview of all the work orders for your location. You will see numbers displaying on the days of the week in the calendar. These numbers represent work orders. The numbers that display in blue, such as the blue number 2 on the 15th, that means that there's 2 repair work orders. So the blue color equals a repair work order or an on-demand request. These are the type of work orders that you will enter using the request service link on the left-hand side. Now the numbers that show up in red, like I have a red number 1 on the 15th, that represents a planned maintenance work order or a scheduled service. Now this type of work order might not be a work order that you enter at the location level. Instead, there is another portion in Service Channel that your maintenance department has access to. It's called the PM module or Planned Maintenance module. That allows them to set up all the ongoing reoccurring services for each location. Once they're set up on that program, those tickets or work orders will automatically load according to their frequency cycle. For example, if your fire extinguishers need to be serviced maybe annually, once they're set up on that program by your maintenance department, those tickets will auto-load every year, dispatch out to your provider, and show up on your dashboard calendar in red. That could be things like pressure washing, if your HVACs have to be serviced on any regular cycle. All of those are what we call planned services. They do, even though you didn't actually go in and request a service, they show up on your calendar in red so that you're never caught off guard when a provider is showing up to your location. Now down below the calendar, it gives you information such as how the total open requested repairs. And right now my training location has 4. It shows how many tickets or work orders are scheduled for today. And it looks like I have 3 scheduled for today, so I should be expecting 3 vendors sometime today. It'll show how many tickets or work orders were completed yesterday. And last but not least, how many work orders are waiting for your feedback. These are work orders where a provider has checked out as completed. Now it's waiting for you at the location to give your feedback. 1, to verify if the vendor was there, and 2, were you happy with the service that was performed? How do you navigate from this summary calendar? Well, there's a couple different ways. If you wanted to see all of your open tickets, you could just go to the link and view open tickets on the left-hand side. However, if you just want to see particular work orders, then you can either click on the numbers directly on the calendar. All those numbers are hyperlinks that will take you to view details of the work order. Also, the numbers down here below that are underlined, these are also hyperlinks So for example, if I want to see the tickets scheduled for today, I'll put my mouse on the number 3, click on that so I can go see just those 3 particular work orders. So I clicked on the number 3 and it brings me over here to view details. While we're here, let's talk about the details of a work order. There's a color legend at the top of your screen. Work orders that are in an open status will display in this pinkish red color, depending on the color of your screen. So I have one open work order here. What is an open work order? An open work order is a work order that's been entered into ServiceChannel. It's been time-stamped with the date and time it was entered. It's been dispatched out to the service provider, but that's all that's been done with it yet. My provider has not acknowledged receipt of this work order yet. It's just been entered, time-stamped with the date and time, who entered it, and dispatched out to the provider, whether it's an internal provider or whether it's an outside vendor that you use. Whenever they show up in the yellowish tan color, that means that they're already in some stage of in progress. In real time, you can see what stage of in progress they're in just by looking at the word status. Next to status, it will tell you. For example, this work order, my vendor is on site. The one down below that, you'll see status and it shows dispatch confirmed. Dispatch confirmed just means the work order was entered, sent out to my service provider, and once your service provider acknowledges receipt of that work order, it will go to dispatch confirmed. That's great because it lets you know at the location that your provider has received it, accepted it, and they'll be out. So all repair work orders should very quickly be going from open to dispatch confirmed. The only work orders that may stay in the open color until the provider arrives is the preventative maintenance work orders, those planned services. Why? Because those are already contracted services. My providers have already agreed to do this type of service, so they may stay open until the provider arrives. But definitely repair work orders should be going to the yellow in progress dispatch confirmed color pretty quickly. All right, in the description column, it allows you to see who put the work order in. Most of the time, you'll see someone's name there. However, you might see the word auto-generated work order. If you see auto-generated work order, that means it loaded from that planned maintenance module I was talking about, the program that auto-loads work orders according to their frequency cycle. Next, the area will tell you what area is the issue or problem occurring in. Below that, it will give you a detailed description. And we already talked about the status, just telling you exactly where the work order is, what stage or life cycle is it in. Schedule date. This column is an important column to look at and make sure the dates that are showing in the schedule dates are either a date of today or a future date. One thing you don't want to see here is a date prior to today's date. If you see a date prior to today's date, you may want to follow up on that work order. And as we go through training, you'll see how to do that. But these dates should all be current dates. These are the dates that the provider has either scheduled to come into your location, or sometimes they're an estimated schedule date based upon the priority of that work order. And you'll see how that works in a moment. Now, to the left of all of your work orders in the system, there's a tracking number. A tracking number is a unique number that is given to every work order when it's entered in ServiceChannel. You can place your mouse over that tracking number, and when you put your mouse over that tracking number, this window will pop up, the work order summary window. In here, it allows me to see even more details, such as the age of the call. How old is this work order? How many days has it been in here? So this example is 14 days. The next field down allows me to see who put the work order in. So in the caller field, I can see who entered the work order. The call date. This is the date that the work order is first active to your provider. Every work order will load with a priority. The priority just tells your provider how quickly do they need to respond to this particular work order. And as we go through here, you'll see different priorities today. The next field down will tell you which vendor is the work order currently assigned to, along with their phone number. Now it could be an internal maintenance team member, or it could be an outside vendor. But whoever this work order is currently assigned to, whether it's somebody inside your company or outside, it will show here, and you will see their phone number display as well. Next is the category. The category tells you, is this a maintenance work order or is this a repair work order? Now, as I mentioned earlier, the category maintenance, those work orders may show in the open status until the provider arrives. However, if the category says repair, those are the ones that should be going to in progress very quickly. In the category, you might see other things as well. You might see CapEx or warranty, etc. The schedule date will appear here as well as under the schedule date column. Every work order loads with an NTE amount. NTE stands for not to exceed. When the provider arrives to your location, that lets them know they can go ahead and do the work as long as it's not going to exceed the NTE amount listed here. That shows on the provider's work order. That's important because if the provider does work and exceeds that dollar amount without getting approval, they will not be able to invoice. So the not to exceed amount locks them into invoicing. They can invoice up to that dollar amount, but not even a penny over unless they receive approval. Now, how do they get approval if it's going to go over that dollar amount? Well, there's two ways. One is a provider can submit a proposal, which is really quick and easy to do. They can do it on their smartphones or on their computers. They just click a link that says create proposal. It walks them through filling out all the detailed information needed. And as soon as they submit, it's electronically and immediately in the system waiting for approval. Now, the other way is if a vendor is standing on site in your location, it's an emergency, and we don't have time for them to submit proposals, they can reach out to your maintenance department for approval. If your maintenance department decides to approve it, they have the ability to go in and raise the NTE amount and put all the notes. All right, in here it shows the description, which also shows on the main screen what status is the work order currently in and the last note that was entered. When you take your mouse off this section, the window will go away. So you can easily just go and put your mouse next to each tracking number to see quick details. Now, the last important feature in here when reviewing your work orders is the notes column. It's to the right of every work order. So you'll have the notes column to the right. You'll see dates, they're underlined. If you click on that date, it will open up all the notes pertaining to this particular work order. So if I want to see the notes on this one, I'll click on that date and it opens up the notes section. Couple important things about notes, or details I should say about notes. First of all, notes are a permanent record. Once they've been entered, they cannot be removed or deleted. They're a permanent record attached to this work order. The other important detail is whichever provider this work order is assigned to, that provider has the ability to enter notes and also see all these notes. So please always keep your notes professional. This is not the place you want to call any vendors any names. So always keep your notes professional, and keeping in mind that the service provider can see these notes if the work order is assigned to them. So you have the ability to come in here and read through all the notes. Now this is great because it allows transparency. You can see the notes from the vendor, from your maintenance department, from yourselves. It's all housed in one central location. So I could come in here and read through all the notes. They're kept in order and they're numbered. And then I could go back to report. Or if I would like to add a note, just click the link on the right-hand side, add note. The date and time will autofill for you. Where it says enter your name, if your name appears there, then you could skip to step 2. If it's blank in that field, you will be required to enter your name. Step 2. Go ahead and type your note. You might have a question for your maintenance department or a question on this work order. You can go ahead and type that in there just as if you were entering an email. So I'm going to go ahead and just type the word training note for now. Go to step 3. Choose the recipient. You will see names in this drop down here. Whoever you would like to send your note to, all you have to do is find the name of that person in there. And all you'll do is click on the name. So you'll click on the name of the person that you want to receive your note. So I'm going to go in here and find a name. And you can scroll up and down. All right, I'm going to send it to one of our people in our department just so I don't bug anybody while I'm training. So you'll notice it highlights it in blue. Whoever's highlighted is the person that's going to receive this note via email. Now, what if you want to send your note to multiple people? You can. The way that you do that is you hold your control key down on your keyboard. Or if you're using an Apple product, hold the command key down. While holding the control key down on your keyboard, it will allow you to select more than one name. So you could just go in here and highlight as many names as you need to. I'll go ahead and just send it to one today. Now, last but not least, let's say you want to attach a photo or a document to this work order. There's a couple different ways that you can attach a photo or document. One is, let's say I entered the work order, but I forgot to attach my picture or document. This is where you can come into the notes section and at a later time attach that photo or document. To do that, just go to Add Attachment, click on Choose File. Oh, my adorable pictures open up here. So we're just going to use a sample picture for today. I'll click on my little Twinkie man, and you'll notice that it attached it to the work order. Now down below here, it gives you a place to label what did you attach, and I'll put training photo here. If you don't label it, it'll just have today's date. So try and remember to label your attachment. When I'm ready to send the note, I'll go to the right-hand side, click on the word submit, and now my note has been sent to the recipient that was highlighted. And it now has note 2 in here. One other important detail. This note was sent out to the recipient here. They receive it via email. They receive an email that says Service Channel Work Order Note, and it has WO abbreviated. If the person replies to that email, their reply will be automatically captured in here as note 3. So if any of you ever receive an email that says Service Channel Work Order Note as a subject line, keep in mind if you reply to it, your reply is automatically being captured in here. So again, friendly reminder, always keep those notes professional and don't put anything in there that you would not want an outside provider or vendor to see. All right, now that we talked about the details of work orders and how to enter notes, let's talk about how do work orders get entered into Service Channel. When you need to enter a work order, you just click on the link on the left-hand side that says Request Service. Your location or store information will appear right here. The gray box to the right may give you important location note information, and these are just examples here. I would see who's my district director. I would see their name and phone number. The store number will autofill. The call date and time will autofill as well. So you're going to start where it says full name and title. If this field is blank, please enter your first and last name. It will not allow you to enter the work order unless you enter your name. If your name's already there, then you can skip to the next drop down. Now, when entering a work order, you're going to first choose what area is the issue or the problem occurring in. So you're going to go to the area, click the box to the right, and choose the area. I'm going to go down and say that we are having an issue in our, let's choose the grocery, the back room. Next, I'm going to go to the problem type. Click in the drop down below and choose what type of issue or problem are we having in that area. As you can see, you can scroll up and down until you find the type of issue. Normally in here, you're kind of thinking about the type of vendor that you're expecting to come out. So I'm going to go ahead in here and say that we are having a pest control issue in the back room. Next is the asset. This is usually the type of equipment or the exact item that it is. So click in this drop down and choose. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're having a rat issue in our back room. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Now you'll notice my problem did autofill because there's only one choice, but as you go through these drop downs, sometimes you'll choose in the last one as well. You'll be choosing like, is it an emergency issue? Is it urgent? Is it a contained? So as you go through those drop downs, just select the appropriate one. Now after I've made my selection, I'm going to go to the right and click next. But notice the nice thing about this is in the first 4 words, it's giving your vendor or provider key information that they need. So they know you're having an issue in the back room, it's a pest control issue, it happens to be with a rat or a mice, and we need service. So in those first 4 words, it's giving them that information. We'll go to the right-hand side, click the word next. This is the troubleshooting area. Now, there may be times that you might see a message pop up to you right below your store information. It might be a helpful suggestion or a reminder or a tip. In this case, we don't have any, but sometimes you might see that. There could be certain issues or problem types that you enter that it will ask you a question, and then you'll answer the question. In this case, we don't have any of those, but on every work order, where it says enter complete problem description, you will always click in this box below and in your own words give a detailed description. This information does display on the work order to a provider. So I might want to say that I've spotted several rats and maybe more details where they're coming in and out of boxes, or give more detailed information. The more details that you can give, the better. So once I've given details here, I'll go to the right-hand side, click the word next. Now we're on the last portion. It's called the confirmation screen. You're going to get really quick at going through those drop downs, and you might accidentally click on the wrong item. So it's always important when you get to the confirmation screen to just take a quick moment and make sure what you selected is correct. If for some reason any of these are incorrect, I'll click previous and go back and make a change. Why is that so important? Because from selecting these first 4 drop-downs, notice that it's driving to a trade, and the trade is the type of vendor that is going to show up to your location. Now, if I'm looking for pest control, I'll proceed on. But if that was to show up with something like an electrician and I'm not looking for an electrician, then I've probably made a wrong selection, and you don't want the wrong vendor coming out. So just always quickly take a moment to make sure that's correct. The category will auto-populate for you. Notice by what you chose above, it will auto-populate to the priority. So this means we need to have a vendor within 48 hours. That's what the vendor is going to see. The not to exceed amount has auto-filled for me as well. And this schedule date and time, this populates based on the priority above. So it's going to give an estimated schedule date of 48 hours from now. Your service providers will auto-populate as well. Whether it's going to go to your internal maintenance department or an outside vendor, that's already been preset up behind the scenes. Keep in mind, ServiceChannel doesn't have anything to do with deciding which vendors are used for your company. That has all been decided upon by your maintenance department, and those vendors have been approved and set up for each location for the trade that they service. And again, it might go to your internal maintenance department, or it could go to an outside maintenance department. If you think of any other details that might be important, then you'll add on here. For example, if I notice that the time frame is wrong, then I'll add more notes into my description here so my provider can see that. You also can attach that picture. So I could click on Choose File. If I had a picture of that, I could go ahead and attach my photo here, my little rat, click Open, and then I'll have my photo. And I'll label that photo. Go to the right-hand side, click on Submit Request. When you get here, you'll notice that your work order has been entered into the system and it's been assigned a tracking number. So now your work order has been dispatched out to the provider. Now, before we talk about what happens when the work order gets entered, I want to go ahead and show you a couple of other scenarios that might happen when you're entering work orders. For example, I'm going to click on Request Service. What if I came in later during the day and I didn't realize that somebody already entered that work order? So I come in and I enter my name and I click it's the back room and it has to do with pest control. And then it has to do with my rodents and requesting service. And I click next. The system will warn you if there's already a work order in here that's open or in progress. When this pops up, please take a moment to look at that. If there's already a work order in here, you don't want to click on Next. If you click on Next, you'll be entering a potential duplicate work order. So only click on Next if it's a completely different issue. If it's the same issue, you can put your mouse over the tracking number and it will tell you which vendor along with their phone number. Or remember, you have your note section to the right where you can send out a note. So again, this just helps prevent duplicate work orders from being entered. So if this was the same work order and I put my mouse over the tracking number and I realized that this work order was just put in here, it's 0 days old, so it was just put in, then I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this work order. Let me show you another scenario. Let me put my name in here. This time I have a signage issue. So I'm going to go to the area and I'm going to choose that it is the storefront exterior that we're having an issue on. I'll go to the problem type, signage. Then I'm going to go to my asset and choose exactly which sign is it. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it is my sign lighted storefront. Here you'll see that we have damage non-emergency. I'll go to the right-hand side, click Next. Now I'm getting the warning message again, but this one's different than the last one. The last time it told me I had something open or in progress. This time it's telling me that I had something completed within the last 30 days. If something was recently completed within the last 30 days, it'll show up in this orange, green, or blue color. All of these represent that the work order has been completed, again, within the last 30 days. In this particular circumstance, when it was recently completed, I'm going to read the description. If it's exactly the same item, notice over here under repeated issue, you can put a check in this box. But let's say it's something different. Now it's the right half of the sign instead of the left half. Then don't check the repeated issue. If you don't check it and you click Next, then you can put your description in here and then click Next, and you're entering a brand new billable work order. That's going to go out with a $1,000 NTE, and it'll be dispatched out. Now let me go back. If you do check the repeated issue box to the right, so you click in there, it puts a check mark, and you click Next, notice it's bringing all the descriptions over from the original work order. Let's say my vendor was out 2 days ago, fixed the sign, and the same problem is happening. So I will check the repeated issue box, put all of my notes in here, like you were out 2 days ago, the same problem's happening, etc. Put those notes in here. Click Next. What that's going to do is it's going to dispatch out to the same vendor, but it's going to be a non-billable work order. So it'll dispatch out to the same vendor, but it's a non-billable work order. It lets them know it's a repeated issue. All right, so that's what you can do on these warning messages, is just determine if it's the same item or not. If it's like broken glass due to vandalism, you know your vendor's not going to replace your glass again at no charge, so just don't check the repeated issue box. Leave that unchecked. All right, now that we've talked about the different ways to enter work orders, I'm going to click over here to view open tickets and show you what does it look like for all the open work orders and what happens when a work order is dispatched out to the provider. So I clicked on view open tickets. Here's all my open and in progress work orders. When you enter a work order, it will show up immediately in this open color and the status says open. Right away, a dispatch email is sent out to the provider or vendor. When the vendor receives that dispatch email, all they do is they open up the email and they reply to it. So a vendor receives it, they open up the email and they click on reply and they type in the word yes or no. If they type in the word yes, that open work order will change within a minute to in progress dispatch confirmed. That's how that happens, is just by your vendor acknowledging receipt of the email, hitting reply, typing in yes, and hitting send. Now, if your provider cannot accept the work order and they type the word no, then your maintenance department will be alerted that they've declined it and they can reassign it on to another vendor. Now, in that email that the provider receives, it has all the detailed information they need. What location it came from, what your exact issue and problem type is, what priority so they know how fast they need to respond. All of the information is in that work order. Next, the provider is going to show up on site to do the work. When they show up on site, they have been trained by ServiceChannel that they're required to check in and out of their work orders. So at ServiceChannel, what we do here is we support your providers and we train them. So when the provider shows up on site, they've been trained to check in and out of their work orders. They must do that. They have two options. If they're carrying the old flip phone or they don't have a phone, they may ask to use the phone in your location. They'll pick up a phone and they dial an IVR number, which is an interactive voice response number. They dial that phone number and it prompts them through checking in and out. For example, it'll say press 1 for on-site, press 2 for parts on order, press 3 for incomplete, etc. That's the IVR system. Now, most of your providers are carrying smartphones or tablets. If they are, they can check in and out through a GPS app. We have an app. It's a free app at ServiceChannel. You can download. It's called the GPS app. The providers have it. When they're on site, they just tap on their app, and then it allows them to enter a PIN number, which is a provider identification number, and then they hit check-in. When they hit check-in, it will go to on-site right away. That way, everybody in real time can see that the provider is on site. Now, if they check in on site and they can't complete the work that day, they can check out as either parts on order or incomplete. They can check in and out as many times as they need to. If they submit a proposal, that work order will switch and say waiting for approval. Once the proposal is approved, it'll say proposal approved. I'm going to show you some other quick statuses here. You might see things like parts on order in there. You might see the vendor has started the work, but it's not complete. So always look at the status on your in-progress work orders to see exactly where the work order is. And the provider does that by checking in and out on the IVR or the GPS app. Why is all that so important? Because when they check in and out on the app, in every work order, it's stamping what time they checked in, what time they checked out, and the total amount of hours they were on site. Also, what number they checked in and out from. That prints on every work order and also prints on the invoice. So when the invoices come in, we can compare it against the time that they were there. It's very important providers check in and out because when these work orders are open or in progress, the service providers cannot invoice. They cannot invoice you. A provider cannot invoice you until the work order gets to a completed status. And the only way it gets to a completed status is by them checking out. So again, that's how your providers check in and out. At the location level, you can always check your schedule dates, make sure they're current. You have your notes to the right, and you have your tracking numbers. You can put your mouse over to see which vendor, which priority is it. One last thing, on the left-hand side of the tracking number, you'll notice that there is this piece of paper with a paper clip. What is that? If you put your mouse over it, a window will pop up. Whenever you see that icon, it means that there's a document or photo attached to this work order. So when you see the piece of paper with a paper clip to the left of the tracking number, it lets you know that there's an attachment. Putting your mouse over that gives you the description of the attachment, and it also gives you the link. You could click on the link and open up the photo. Now you can have multiple attachments as well. So on some of these, let's see if we have multiples. These all have, this one here has 2 photos on it. So you can see it'll have multiple attachments on it. Now I'm going to click over here to view work history, and we're going to talk about what happens when the provider checks out. So I went over to view work history. Again, you have your color legend at the top. Now, when the provider checks out as being done with the work order will go from the in-progress color to this orange color and say pending confirmation immediately. This means it's now waiting for your feedback at the location, verifying the vendor was there. Were you happy with the work? So when it's pending confirmation, you have 5 days from the time it went to a completed status. So 5 days from the provider checking out to give your feedback. Your feedback's important. It gives your maintenance department a lot of detailed information. Are you happy with the providers? So please take time to give your feedback. You only have 5 days to do that. If you don't give your feedback within 5 days, this work order will switch over to the green completed color and allow your vendor to invoice. When it's in this orange color, it's in a holding pattern. The vendor can't invoice yet. When it's pending confirmation, you may receive an alert email letting you know that you have tickets or work orders waiting for feedback. When you get that alert email, it'll say service channel alert, you have tickets, pending confirmation, or waiting feedback. All you'll do is log in. When you log in, you land on the summary screen. From here, you can click here where it says I have 2 tickets waiting for feedback. I could click on that number 2, or I could go to the other link on the left-hand side that says leave feedback and click that. Either one takes you to the same place. Your name. Please make sure you enter your name so we know who's giving feedback at the top. Yours might be blank, and if it's blank, it'll require you to enter your name. The 2 orange colored work orders are showing up right here so you can read the description. You have your mouse that you could put over the tracking number. You have a link here to view notes. If you want to click on that, you can go view all the notes. This resolution window here will have notes from your vendor. What did they do while they were on site? So when they're checking out, a resolution box comes up for them, allowing them to type in their notes. Now, as you can see, leaving feedback is very quick and easy. However, there's very important details in here. If you choose excellent or satisfactory, first of all, it's optional whether you leave a comment below. If you choose excellent or satisfactory, it will allow your vendor to invoice you. Now, what happens if you choose unsatisfactory? Well, if you choose unsatisfactory, first of all, it's going to require you to put a professional comment below. Why are you unhappy? I say professional because the providers do see that information. So as much as you're unhappy with them, try to refrain from calling them any names and just tell us why you're unhappy. If you choose unsatisfactory, very important to know that it will stop your provider from billing and require them to come back out to your location and resolve the issue. Well, what happens if the provider did the work? You don't need them to come back out, but you don't recommend using them again? Then I highly recommend you use satisfactory for that and then just put a note below. So let me do 2 examples. On my file cabinet here that I requested service, I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, you know what, they did a great job here. I don't have to leave a comment, but I will. Now on my bottom one, my signage, I'm going to say completely unhappy, unsatisfied. Why? Because it's still not working properly. And I would give more details. Then I'll go to the right-hand side, click on the word submit feedback, and you're done. That's how quick and easy it is. The unsatisfactory feedback has been sent to your maintenance department and your vendor. Now let me go back to view work history and let me show you what happened. I'll go back over here, view work history, and we're going to show you the one that I gave good feedback on. That should be on your screen now. The one that I gave excellent or satisfactory feedback, that went to this green color and it says the word confirm. Now my provider on their side gets a create invoice link. It shows up right in the middle of the work order. It says create invoice. They click on it and it gives them the ability to fill out their detailed invoicing information. When they hit submit, their invoice is electronically and immediately in the system for the appropriate people in your company to review those invoices. Now, if you choose unsatisfactory, notice that went back to the yellow in progress color and it shows unsatisfactory. Your provider will now be coming back out to your location to resolve this issue. They'll have to check in again, check out again, and they'll go back through feedback one more time. The only time your vendor can invoice is when it's in this green color and it shows confirmed. Now notice that there will be other green colored work orders in the status of completed. They may be completed canceled. You might even see completed no charge. Those ones there won't be any invoicing on, only the ones that say confirmed. When your provider actually sends the invoice, it'll go to this blue color and it will have the word, or it'll go to blue, and that means the provider has now sent the invoice. All right, we've pretty much talked about everything on your dashboard now. So that concludes